Welcome! Today, we're diving into the topic of court eviction. If you've ever wondered what happens when a landlord wants to remove a tenant from a property, this video will break it down for you. Court eviction is a legal process, and it's important to understand both the rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants. We'll start by defining what a court eviction is, then walk through the steps involved, and finally discuss what you can do if you find yourself facing eviction. Let's get started by understanding the basics. A court eviction is a formal legal process where a landlord seeks to remove a tenant from their property through the court system. Unlike informal evictions, which might involve a landlord asking a tenant to leave without legal proceedings, court eviction requires filing a lawsuit and obtaining a court order. This process ensures that both parties have a chance to present their side and that the eviction is handled fairly under the law. Understanding this distinction is crucial for both landlords and tenants, as it protects everyone's rights and sets clear procedures. Evictions can happen for a variety of reasons. The most common cause is non-payment of rent, but there are other grounds as well. Sometimes, tenants violate the terms of their lease, such as causing damage to the property, engaging in illegal activities, or disturbing neighbors. In some cases, landlords may need to reclaim the property for personal use or to make significant repairs. Whatever the reason, the eviction process must follow legal steps to ensure fairness and transparency for both parties involved. The first step in a court eviction is usually the delivery of a legal notice to the tenant. This notice informs the tenant of the landlord's intention to evict and the reason behind it. The notice period can vary depending on local laws and the reason for eviction. For example, non-payment of rent might require a shorter notice than other violations. This step is crucial because it gives the tenant an opportunity to address the issue or prepare for the next steps in the process. If the tenant does not resolve the issue after receiving the notice, the landlord can file an eviction lawsuit with the local court. This is sometimes called an unlawful detainer action. The landlord must provide evidence supporting their claim, such as proof of unpaid rent or documentation of lease violations. The court will then schedule a hearing, giving both the landlord and tenant a chance to present their sides. This formal process ensures that the eviction is handled legally and fairly. During the court hearing, both the landlord and tenant have the opportunity to present their arguments and evidence. The judge listens to both sides, reviews the documentation, and may ask questions to clarify the situation. This is the tenant's chance to explain any defenses, such as improper notice or payment disputes. The hearing is a critical part of the process, as it ensures that the decision is based on facts and legal standards, not just one party's claims. After hearing both sides, the judge will make a decision. If the landlord proves their case, the court will issue an order for eviction. If the tenant successfully defends against the eviction, they may be allowed to stay. Sometimes, the court may grant extra time for the tenant to move out or pay overdue rent. The outcome depends on the evidence and the specific circumstances of the case, making each eviction hearing unique. If the court rules in favor of the landlord, an eviction order is issued. This is a legal document that authorizes the landlord to regain possession of the property. The order typically specifies a deadline by which the tenant must leave. If the tenant does not move out by the deadline, the landlord can request law enforcement assistance to carry out the eviction. This step ensures that the process remains lawful and orderly. When a tenant does not leave after an eviction order, law enforcement officers, such as sheriffs or constables, may be called to enforce the order. Their role is to ensure the eviction is carried out peacefully and according to the law. They may supervise the removal of the tenant and their belongings, making sure that everyone's rights are respected. This step is only taken as a last resort when voluntary compliance does not occur. Tenants have important rights during the eviction process. They must receive proper notice, have the opportunity to respond in court, and cannot be forcibly removed without a court order. Additionally, landlords cannot change locks, shut off utilities, or remove belongings without legal authorization. Understanding these rights helps tenants protect themselves and ensures that evictions are handled fairly and legally. Landlords also have responsibilities during the eviction process. They must follow all legal procedures, provide accurate information, and respect the tenant's rights. Attempting to evict a tenant without a court order, or using intimidation or harassment, is illegal. Landlords should document all communications and actions related to the eviction to protect themselves and ensure the process is transparent and fair. Tenants facing eviction may have legal defenses available. Common defenses include improper notice, landlord retaliation, discrimination, or the landlord's failure to maintain the property. If a tenant believes the eviction is unjust, they should gather evidence and present their case in court. Knowing these defenses can help tenants protect their rights and possibly avoid eviction. If a tenant disagrees with the court's decision, they may have the right to appeal. The appeals process allows a higher court to review the case for legal errors. However, appeals must be filed quickly and usually require specific legal grounds. During the appeal, the tenant may be allowed to stay in the property, but this depends on local laws and the court's decision. It's important to seek legal advice if considering an appeal. An eviction can have a lasting impact on a tenant's credit record and rental history. Court-ordered evictions are often reported to credit bureaus, making it harder to rent in the future. Some landlords also check public records for past evictions. Understanding these consequences can help tenants make informed decisions and possibly negotiate with landlords before the process reaches court. Eviction cases are typically part of the public record. This means that future landlords, employers, or others may be able to see that an eviction occurred. Public records can influence decisions about renting, employment, or even loans. Being aware of this can motivate tenants to resolve disputes early or seek legal help to avoid a court eviction whenever possible. Once an eviction order is issued, tenants are usually given a specific time frame to move out. It's important to follow this timeline to avoid further legal trouble or additional costs. Tenants should remove all personal belongings and leave the property in good condition. If possible, communicating with the landlord about the move-out process can help ensure a smoother transition. If a tenant leaves belongings behind after an eviction, the landlord must follow local laws regarding their disposal. Some areas require landlords to store items for a certain period, while others allow immediate removal. Tenants should try to collect all possessions before moving out to avoid loss or additional fees. Knowing your local regulations can help prevent misunderstandings. Landlords are not allowed to shut off utilities like water, electricity, or gas to force a tenant to leave. Doing so is considered an illegal eviction and can result in penalties. Utilities should remain on until the legal process is complete and the tenant has moved out. Tenants should report any unauthorized shutoffs to local authorities or seek legal help. Changing the locks without a court order is another form of illegal eviction. Only after a legal eviction order and with law enforcement present can a landlord change the locks. Tenants should not be locked out of their homes without due process. If this happens, they may have legal remedies available, including the right to regain access or seek damages. After an eviction, tenants may be entitled to the return of their security deposit, minus any lawful deductions for damages or unpaid rent. Landlords must follow state laws regarding the timing and documentation of deposit returns. Tenants should request an itemized list of deductions and keep records of the property's condition when moving out to avoid disputes. Eviction can be especially challenging for families with children, elderly tenants, or those with disabilities. Some areas have additional protections or resources for vulnerable tenants, such as extended notice periods or access to social services. If you or someone you know is in this situation, it's important to seek help from local agencies or legal aid organizations. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many governments introduced temporary eviction moratoriums or additional protections for tenants. These measures vary by location and time, but often included bans on evictions for non-payment of rent or requirements for landlords to offer payment plans. It's important to check current local laws, as some protections may still be in place or have recently changed. Tenants facing eviction should consider seeking legal aid. Many communities have organizations that offer free or low-cost legal assistance to those who qualify. Legal aid can help tenants understand their rights, prepare for court, and negotiate with landlords. Accessing these resources can make a significant difference in the outcome of an eviction case. Mediation is an alternative to court that allows landlords and tenants to resolve disputes with the help of a neutral third party. Mediation can lead to agreements that work for both sides, such as payment plans or move-out dates. Many courts encourage or require mediation before proceeding with an eviction trial. It's often faster, less expensive, and less stressful than going to court. Sometimes, landlords and tenants can avoid court eviction by agreeing to a payment plan for overdue rent. Payment plans allow tenants to catch up on missed payments over time, while landlords continue to receive income. These agreements should be put in writing and signed by both parties to avoid misunderstandings. If the tenant fails to follow the plan, the landlord may still proceed with eviction. Rental assistance programs can help tenants avoid eviction by providing funds to cover overdue rent. These programs are often run by government agencies or nonprofits and may have eligibility requirements. Applying for assistance early can prevent the eviction process from moving forward. Landlords may also benefit as they receive payment directly from the program. It is illegal for landlords to evict tenants based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or family status. These protections are provided by federal and state fair housing laws. If a tenant believes they are being evicted for discriminatory reasons, they should seek legal help immediately. Discrimination claims can stop or reverse an eviction and may result in penalties for the landlord. Landlords cannot evict tenants in retaliation for exercising their legal rights, such as reporting code violations or joining a tenant's union. Retaliatory evictions are illegal and can be challenged in court. Tenants should document any actions they take and any responses from the landlord to support their case if needed. Sometimes, an eviction is the result of a lease ending and the tenant not moving out. In these cases, the landlord must still follow the legal eviction process. Tenants should be aware of their lease end date and communicate with the landlord about moving plans. Staying past the lease term without permission can lead to legal action. Subletting without the landlord's permission can be grounds for eviction, depending on the lease terms. Tenants should always check their lease and get written approval before subletting. Unauthorized subletting can lead to legal action and a court eviction. Clear communication and understanding of the lease can help avoid these issues. Engaging in illegal activity on the property is a common reason for eviction. Landlords must still follow the legal process, but courts may expedite these cases due to safety concerns. Tenants accused of illegal activity should seek legal advice immediately, as these cases can move quickly and have serious consequences. Significant property damage caused by a tenant can also be grounds for eviction. Landlords must document the damage and follow the legal process. Tenants should repair any damage they cause or negotiate with the landlord to avoid eviction. Keeping the property in good condition is always the best policy. Repeated noise complaints or disturbances can lead to eviction if they violate the lease terms. Landlords must provide evidence of the complaints and follow the legal process. Tenants should be mindful of noise levels and address any concerns from neighbors or the landlord to avoid problems. Having unauthorized pets in a rental property can be a lease violation and grounds for eviction. Tenants should always check their lease for pet policies and get written approval if needed. If a pet is discovered without permission, the tenant may be asked to remove the animal or face eviction. Clear communication can help resolve these issues. Long-term guests or additional occupants not listed on the lease can be a violation and lead to eviction. Tenants should inform the landlord about any changes in occupancy and get approval if required. Keeping open communication and following lease terms can prevent misunderstandings and legal issues. Landlords are responsible for maintaining the property in a habitable condition. If repairs are not made, tenants may have legal grounds to withhold rent or request repairs. However, withholding rent can sometimes lead to eviction if not done properly. Tenants should follow legal procedures and document all requests to avoid misunderstandings. Sudden or excessive rent increases can sometimes lead to eviction if tenants cannot pay. However, landlords must follow local laws regarding notice and limits on rent increases. Tenants should review their lease and local regulations to understand their rights. Negotiating with the landlord may help avoid eviction in these situations. In month-to-month rental agreements, either party can usually end the tenancy with proper notice. However, if a tenant does not leave after notice, the landlord must still use the court eviction process. Tenants should be aware of notice requirements and plan accordingly to avoid legal trouble. Squatters are individuals occupying a property without permission or a lease. Removing squatters usually requires a court eviction process, similar to removing tenants. Landlords must avoid self-help measures and follow legal procedures to regain possession of their property. Eviction laws for commercial properties can differ from residential cases. Commercial leases often have different notice requirements and procedures. Business tenants should review their lease and consult legal counsel if facing eviction. Understanding the unique rules for commercial evictions is essential for both landlords and tenants. Eviction rules for mobile homes or manufactured housing can be different from standard rentals. There may be additional notice requirements or protections for mobile homeowners. Tenants should check local laws and seek legal advice if facing eviction from a mobile home park. If a landlord's property is foreclosed, tenants may still have rights to remain in the property for a certain period. Federal and state laws often provide protections for tenants in foreclosed properties, including advance notice before eviction. Tenants should learn about their rights and seek help if they receive an eviction notice after foreclosure. Filing for bankruptcy can temporarily stop an eviction, but it does not always prevent it permanently. The court may issue an automatic stay, halting the eviction process while the bankruptcy is reviewed. However, if the eviction is for reasons other than non-payment, or if the landlord seeks relief from the stay, the process may continue. Tenants should consult a bankruptcy attorney for guidance. Tenants and landlords can represent themselves in eviction court, but it's important to be prepared. Understanding the process, gathering evidence, and knowing your rights are key to a successful outcome. Many courts provide resources or self-help centers to assist those without attorneys. Preparation and knowledge can make a big difference. In summary, court eviction is a formal legal process that protects the rights of both landlords and tenants. Understanding the steps involved, from notice to court hearings and possible defenses, can help you navigate this challenging situation. Whether you're a landlord or a tenant, Knowing your rights and responsibilities is the best way to ensure a fair and lawful outcome. If you ever face eviction, seek legal advice and use available resources to protect your interests.